Hey, what's up everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plugin Boutique. Today we're checking out Pulsar Mu limiter compressor. I'm going to walk you through its key features, give you some examples, and hopefully get you interested enough to click the link in the video description to find out more about this great dynamics processor. This particular model is an emulation of a variable bias compressor, which consists in varying the polarization of a tube to control the gain. And this type of compression results in slower attack times than the typical FET or VCA compressors, which comes with the benefit of extremely musical behavior. MU's internal design is based on transformers and tubes that generate slight harmonic distortion that bring with it presence and warmth and that ever sought after gluing effect. For these reasons and more, this particular unit is absolutely wonderful on drums and master buses. Let's check it out. Alrighty, so let's get started. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and drop the original here, or the default preset right on these drums right here. So this is the bypass button. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off for a second. These are the drums unprocessed. And what we need to do is activate the plugin, and we want to use the preset, and the presets come helpfully labeled with -3 dB for right here, for example. And what we want to do is take the dual input, and it says dual input because it actually has two inputs, and that's for the left and the right, or the mid or the side. We'll get into that in a second, but it just means input signal here. And we want to crank this up until we get -3 dB on the VU meter here. So let's go ahead and do that. So now we have punchier, more ever-present drums than we did before, and all we need to do is tweak that one input signal. Now we do have a number of other presets here. We're obviously on the drum bus here. Let's try dynamic glue. You can see some of the parameters are all tweaked out here. And again, we just want to move the input dial to get that -3. So here, because the input signal is already pretty strong, we're actually getting way more than desired to begin with. And we can actually change that or fix that by adjusting the threshold. So here it's a pretty subtle effect, but that's because we don't have a full drum bus. We don't have hi-hats. We don't have upper harmonic content and a bunch going on to be able to smooth it out and glue it together. So that's why we're not hearing a big change there. Perhaps we'll use this on the master chain in a little bit to better hear that. So as you can see here, we've got drum bus, guitar, masters, and vocals. You know, I said in the intro, this is really great for drums and master compression or limiting, but it obviously can be used on anything, whatever you want. It's a great compressor limiter at its own right. If you click right here on this band, you'll actually go to the more common modern gain reduction visualizer here. And if you click back, you'll get those kind of classic VU meters. So let's check out the main beefy section here. We have threshold, attack, release, and output knobs for the left or the right when we're here, or the mid and the side when it's here. So if I click this, watch what happens to the link controls. It turns off. You can actually leave it off and turn the left right back on and then compress the left and right differently. But I don't know why you would ever do that. I can't think of a use case where you'd want that. So that's why that's pretty much stuck together all the time. When you turn it off, you want to be able to adjust the mid and the side separately. And that's the way to do that. I'm going to leave it on left, right for right now, link it up. Dual input, as I said, is the input signal into the compressor. This gets some really, really nice character. And what I want to do is actually, let's go ahead and drop it on the bass here. I'm going to solo the bass, bypass it for a second. Let me turn off the side chain. Watch what happens when I start to push this input here. Doesn't this sound great? It's got a really nice distortion sound to it. And the other really cool thing is it's not getting crazy loud. It's still being, relatively the same, but I'm just getting that extra coloring due to the tubes and transformers inside of the emulation behind the scenes. So other than that, we do have attack times. So for drums, you probably want to have a longer attack time. For something like this bass, you might bring it down, although the bass does have some punchy parts to it. So maybe, not completely down. You can see here that when the attack time is slower on this bass, we're actually getting more action here in the VU meter, which means more gain reduction. If we flip over to this other view. So here it's quite, even when it's really up like that. But if I pull down here, we can see that it's actually reacting more to the audio. So if we pull the release time down and keep the attack time down, we should see a lot more happening in terms of gain reduction over time. I apologize. I had the slow and fast reversed over there. So if you want to bring it up really fast, you want to bring it over here to 5, and that's where we'll see more action happening. And to smooth that out. So depending on what you're processing, the attack and release times are really going to affect how much and where the actual sound is getting compressed. Then we have a mix knob right here, pretty straightforward, a mix between the dry and the wet signal. And down here we have the really nice sidechain feature. So we have internal, but we can turn look ahead or look behind. And then we also have a EQ here, so we can really kind of lop off the higher end bits. If we have a drum track, for example, with a bunch of hi-hats, we don't want that to trigger the compressor. We could easily roll off that high end. Maybe bring the frequency position of the filter here in the middle and boost it up over there. And then we could just listen to the sidechain. So you can see here that we've removed that higher end of the bass, and we're only going to have that lower end beefiness to trigger the actual compressor itself. We can switch it to external and then route some audio in there just like you do with any other compressor. Really nice feature to have. I don't need to go through it because I'm pretty sure we know what's going on. And we can also listen to just the left of the mid audio or just the right or the side audio by doing it like this. There is A/B capabilities, and there's also oversampling here up to 8 times. Very nice feature to have. And overall, I would say it's a really, really great compressor for adding that nice touch to it. Just that little bit of harmonic distortion in the higher ends of the frequency spectrum really add a bunch of character. So what I'm gonna do is delete that from the bass. All right, so what I'm gonna do to start off is come into the master presets, and let's do glue preset. And it's telling me to go to -4 with the input here on the VU meter. So let's try that. Oh, it just sounds so much beefier, and it also sounds really cohesive as well. And I don't have a lot going on in this track, so keep that in mind as well. Let's check out another one. I'm just going to click this. So it says limit -4 dB. You can see that it's switched to the limiter mode instead of the compressor mode. And there's no mistake there. It's definitely getting louder and beefier. Let's check out another one. Mid-side limit, -3 dB. Oh yeah. So, it's really easy to use this, just jumping in and getting to the preset. And, there's not a lot of different options here. I think where MU really excels is how it colors the sound and how it deals with the gain reduction. I think it does a really good job. All of the tracks that I've tried it on have all benefited from it. whether that be on a single channel or on the master bus itself. Very, very powerful limiter compressor combination, and I'm happy to have it in my toolbox. If you want to learn more, check it out. Links in the video description. I highly suggest you do. I'm Joshua Casper here for Plugin Boutique. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.